very much for joining us, everyone. I hope you have a great day at VivaTech. My name is Mike Butcher with TECHCRUNCH, and Patrick and Nathen, co-founder of Lilium. We are now, Mr. VT, we are now going to basically break some news on stage. At 6:30 a.m., this news story broke, and you're going to hear about it now. Roll VT.
We promised the world a 5-seater jet. Today, we are delivering on that promise. It takes off and lands vertically. It's fully electric. This is the Lilium Jet.
This is the first time that we have a full-scale, full-weight prototype of that 5-seater version. This is the next step in mobility as we perceive it. What we're trying to achieve here is an air mobility revolution.
We look at what is possible by the laws of physics.
Our principle of maximum simplicity combined with a level of safety is really something that makes us unique.
This is the product. There's nothing like this.
There's always a risk if you do something new. At some point you have to say, we have tested everything, now let's fly this aircraft.
There's this one moment where everything comes together and where it's make or break.
Yes, 240.
This is the everything defining moment for all of us.
Lilium Jet is clear to take off and we'll inform him. Taking off in 3, 2, 1.
First flights are always crucial, but the launch, of course, for us is just a small piece in this whole process. The testing will go on, the refinements, the engineering will all continue.
Amazing. Thank you. So, just to put that in context, what you've just seen is, you've witnessed really is the first full-scale Lilium, you call it a jet?
Yeah. Jet, yes.
Yeah, Lilium Jet Flight. Obviously a test flight, it wasn't, you know, a full flight. But we've seen also the prototype, I think, we've seen some videos of this. Do you feel that this is a little bit like the Wright brothers, a Kitty Hawk moment when the first VTOL air taxi or whatever is really going to go from here?
Yes, I actually think we are at the dawn of new mobility, and regarding, I would call it a little bit the hype that you can feel and you can see it all around. Concepts popping out, maybe even on a daily basis, and the need is there. Society really is now starving for this, and you really can feel that this is now the right time to bring something to the people that could actually be really good for their daily life.
So this is done on the 4th of May, and it's designed to carry 5 people?
Yes, 5 people.
With a pilot?
Initially.
Initially with a pilot. So in a way, so the question is, like, what is this actually going to compete with or replace? Are you trying to build a better helicopter, or is it a better private jet? Or is it a short-range air taxi? What is the range? What's the range and what's the speed and what's it competing with?
So the aircraft that you have just seen is basically the template with which we will go into certification, and basically what we will also put into service. We can reach 300 kilometers with a nominal operational speed of 300 kilometers per hour. And this jet shall be absolutely, everything around this will be designed in such way to make it affordable, accessible for everybody. So our vision is literally to make it also accessible for everybody. So we see it actually more as a common mode of transport, and we see ourselves in the establishment of urban air mobility rather as somebody who will integrate a system that does not replace or eliminate another mode of transport, but actively gives people the possibility to increase their daily action radius.
But let me just press you on that. When you say affordable, do you mean, what are we going to be doing? Buying these things, putting them in our houses? Are we going to be taking off from a dedicated airport or from a normal airport? Or how will it operate?
Yeah, so we are really planning to handle this as a normal airplane. We will build infrastructure in places where we really see the need, the demand is there. We will operate everything completely digitally. This aircraft is not for sale. It will be completely planned as a shared economy service.
I see. So you're owning and operating them. You have the pilots. You have an airport. You'll run your own airports.
Yeah. So basically, we want to own the whole value chain for the customer.
Whole thing.
The whole thing. So what you have normally, where people have, like when they want to gap huge distances, the problem when you go to an airport is that you have an airport provider, you have an airline, you have an aircraft. Everything does not come from the same company. And now we're at the dawn, well, for the very first time, a startup wants to own the whole chain from the beginning to the end.
That's going to take a lot of money.
Yes.
And you've raised, what, about 100 million right now?
So far, a little bit more than 100 million, yes.
100 million.
Yep.
And do you see this launching first in Europe or the US or where?
Yeah. Right now, we are getting overwhelming responses for a lot of city and metropoles all over the world. Of course, right now we are also in discussion with the authorities in Europe and the US in order to bring this on the market. But it's right now too early to decide and to say actually also we will launch in Europe or in the US.
What sort of timeline are you working on? Are you working on a timeline of launching like a full service that we could all try out, say, in what, next year or the year after, or when?
Next year, not.
Not next year.
But,
so 2 years' time.
No. So what we are expecting in 2025, the service will be globally launched in multiple regions. The service will be fully established, and yeah, there you're ready.
So we have
absolutely
another.
ready.
We have at least another 5 or 6 years to go.
Yes.
I see. Are you worried about somebody beating you? Because you could actually, NASA, for instance, has this kind of technology. It's called, as far as I know, it's called distributed electric propulsion.
Yes.
So it's not a proprietary technology, is it?
No. Actually, what we are developing basically from a different point of view. We have a look at what is possible from the laws of physics, and for us, we had as four founders had a look at over 20 different concepts, from multicopters to tilted wings, etc. But ultimately, we scrapped the books and saw that this distributed electric propulsion system with ducted fans can comply with all our needs in terms of efficiency, range, speed, noise, safety, and this ultimately got us to the point where we are right now.
And do you see this working with normal air traffic control or running on some other kind of new form of air traffic control?
Luckily, we are already very engaged discussions with the authorities, because this is something that you cannot simply do on our own. And together with other concepts, we're actually talking about how can we manage this, because we are not talking about that we have a single aircraft in the sky, so there will be many aircraft in the sky, and we want to make it as safe as possible. So we have to engage directly up front with the authorities. And luckily, we are right now actually in a position where they really want to work with us. So they're super excited to be with us on this at this point, and we are in the same way happy to work with them.
I guess, well, more planes means more air traffic control, keeps them in jobs. What about the safety aspect? Now, we saw a video just now. I noticed a little bit of wing flutter. It's obviously, still a prototype. How stable is it? I mean, it's not a real proper, a traditional wing, isn't it? So, if for heaven forbid, you lost power, can it glide, or
Yes.
how would you? What is the safety aspect?
Yeah. So first of all, I would love to point out this. We actually shared our very first flight. So we were not waiting or something like this. We directly shared our very first flight. This is a prototype.
Yeah.
Of course, but it will be. It is the foundation of everything that comes afterwards. And in terms of safety, our concept of space was something that's called ultra redundancy. We have 36 engines on board. We have triple redundant flight control computers, and you can put it in the easiest way. Even if we have multiple engine loss, we are still able to fly safely, to land and take off not, but like we can still land safely.
So one of those little fans could die, and you'd still be able to fly the aircraft.
Yeah, even multiple. Yeah.
Even multiple of them,
Yes.
you'd
Yeah.
still be able to fly.
Yeah. It depends, of course, on the situation. Are we in the hover phase? Are we in the transition phase? Or are we in the cruise flight? And of course, what engines? But generally, there's absolutely no problem when multiple engines will fly.
Why did you choose this form? Because the last couple of years, we've seen new forms of flying taxis. Uber's working on a flying taxi that looks closer to more like a drone, a quadricopter. And it's said that quadricopters are very efficient. So why have you chosen this form of electric propulsion with these tiny fans along a wing? Why is that?
Yeah, the reason for that is very simple. When we want to make flying and urban air mobility accessible for everybody, and we see the benefit for the people not to fly in interurban regions with 20 kilometers. So people, when we talk about that, people can increase their daily action radius by the factor of 10. When I could say you in the same time what you have right now, you increase like the area in which you're moving by the factor of 7 even. Or you could do everything that you do normally right now much faster. Then you can do this only with a concept that is extremely safe in hover flight and extremely efficient in cruise flight. And the concept that we have been developing gives us exactly this compromise between
So because you have a
range
wing.
and, yes, exactly. Yeah.
So because you have a wing, so the wing literally does
Yeah.
the heavy lifting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I see. Amazing. Obviously, we know it's electric, which is great, and obviously we're facing a climate crisis now. I think we're all agreed it's not really about climate change now. It's really climate crisis. So it's fantastic that it's electric, but the question I have is, you're only as good as the battery, and the batteries. What kind of battery technology are you using on this? Is it your own battery technology, or are you buying it in from Mr. Musk or something?
Actually, we are extremely confident that the battery technology will improve more and more right now. We are in coordination with very strong partners already. We're not developing anything on cell level, but we are extremely innovative on the package level, which gives us the efficiency, or together with the efficiency of the aircraft, gives us the metrics that we are saying.
Oh, I see. So, and what did you say the range was again?
300 kilometers.
So 300 kilometers, and the speed is?
300 kilometers per hour, yeah.
So 300. Pretty good. Right, okay, let's do an audience participation. Hands up who would definitely take a flight in this car? Me. Okay.
Good ratio.
That's pretty good. I think we're about 30%, 40%. Hands up who would never go in this thing. Put your hand up if you don't want to fly. Oh, okay.
Also
You're
very
not
good.
sure. Okay. So next thing is, I guess the next thing is autonomous flying, right? So you have a pilot. Eventually, I presume you want it to get to a point where I just roll up with my phone and an app. I say I want to go from here to here. The thing takes me. I don't have to put my hands on the wheel. Don't have to fly it. Is that correct?
Yes, but we have to say we have to be very conscious about the how it feels also for the customer. Imagine we would launch and there would be directly no pilot, and we really think it is the right way to have first a pilot, a fully fledged out commercial pilot on board, who basically guides also the people throughout the whole customer journey. And then step by step, we think that more and more autonomous features can be implemented. And right now we are at a point, especially with respect, for example, to autonomous driving, that we can have these discussions and that this actually can get a reality.
So we have Slido running. So if you would like to ask a question, we've got some Slido questions here. There's a rather good one here from someone anonymous. I mean, when do you think this will be certified to fly? I think you said in about 5 years' time. But you know, the government aspect of this. Have you had government funding, and what sort of government involvement in regulation is there?
Yeah, very good question. So first of all, very quickly, in 2025 we want to be already launched globally in multiple regions. So this requires, of course, a launch that will happen before that. When exactly depends on so many levels: technology development, flight test campaigns. It depends on the partnerships with cities, etc., etc., etc. So unfortunately, it's really hard to give a date on this question, but it has to happen somewhere before 2025.
Yeah, sure. You're a European startup doing a hardware project in Germany with not much government support, a lot of private backing. Actually, a lot of people say, I mean, the first thing they say about startups in hardware is hard. And the second thing is, really, a lot of the time, by the time you've developed it in Europe in hardware, it's already been cloned in Asia. Are you worried about cloning in Asia? Are you worried about the costs and sheer costs involved in doing this?
No, because we actually are facing, although we had, like, as a founding team in the very first years, no support at all. Right now, the government is supporting us in a tremendous way. We are in big talks with all kind of ministers right now. So on this side, this is actually very helpful. And on the other side, we have a tremendous and an amazing set of investors right now who support us in such a way that I don't also see on the other side any problem.
Yes, you've got Atomico, Tencent, LGT, Obvious Ventures. Obvious is Evan Williams, isn't it?
Yes.
From Twitter. So, and you're employing about 300 people. So you're really, you know, you're quite a big company now at this point. You know, just remind us, so it's 300 miles, 300 kilometers an hour, 300, range 300 kilometers. But how long for? 20 minutes? Half an hour? An hour? How long can you fly for?
I mean, when you fly 300 kilometers at 300 kilometers per hour, you do this within an hour.
So it has a flight time of an hour?
And yeah.
Right. So that's really that's pretty efficient. Really, sounds to me like you're like the new private jet.
Yes, with the difference that we don't want to make it private and that we want to make it accessible, and this is why we also want to own the whole chain.
But yeah, almost like the Uber, but Uber are owning your own cars.
You can say so, but with the difference that we want to rather make it extremely focused on the user experience and put the customer or the people in everything that we do into the center and don't have a look just on the profit margins.
Tell me a little bit about you. Are you an aerospace engineer, and the team that you've put together? You know, you're a co-founder, and also with your co-founder, the CEO. Did you guys work in aerospace before? What was the makeup of the team?
Yeah, basically we're all aerospace engineers from the same university. One of my co-founders, Sebastian, I actually met the very first day I moved to Munich 8.5 years ago. So we met in the university. I was in the late stage of my PhD, and I got like super frustrated thinking about where we'll end up. And then one came to another.
So it's a bit like forming a band in a way.
Yes, with a very, very difficult music they want to play.
I noticed from your Twitter feed that you're quite worried about the environment. What sort of impact do you think this could have on travel in terms of environmental impact?
Yes, excellent point actually, because there's also always this this argumentation, it's electric, it's not better for the environment, for example. We are committed to 100% that we want to make the carbon life cycle of Lilium absolutely sustainable. We want to completely comply only and fly with green energy, do everything with green energy. And we are right now, even with authorities, already talking about how to reduce the carbon life cycle throughout the whole process, production and certification process of the aircraft.
So you've done the prototype flight. What's the timeline now? When will this be a first manned flight or human-driven flight?
Yes. So first of all, right now we want to take everybody basically on this journey. We want to be very open, very transparent. How the flight test campaign will come up. The next step definitely will be a manned flight, but when this will exactly happen is super hard to tell right now, because we cannot foresee right now what will happen throughout the whole flight test campaign.
And do you think that this prototype will be the prototype that will take a person on the first flight, or do you think that you have other prototypes to go until then?
There we are not the only ones who can say this. We are working very strongly with the authorities on this topic, and we do what it takes in order to build also prototype aircraft where we are very sure that we put a pilot inside.
Of course, safety comes first,
yeah.
Especially when you're doing flying cars. Well, Patrick, it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
We're out of time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's literally the first time that has ever flown properly, so it's quite a historic moment, quite a big. Do you feel proud?
Tired.
Tired. Too much flying around yourself. Well, thanks very much, Mike Butcher on TechCrunch. I'm going to be some other stages today, so I'll see you later. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.